Dragon Warrior for the NES is one of the most important, if not the most important, RPG games released for the console and of all time. While a good deal of the internet seems comfortable trash-talking this classic, I'm here to give it the respects it deserves. Dragon Quest spawned a new genre in gaming. It was huge in Japan when it was released, absolutely huge. It sold 3 times as many copies in Japan as it did here in the United States. It was developed by Chunsoft, which is an indisputably cool name, in 1986 for the Famicom, but it wasn't until 3 years later that it was released on the NES in North America. Because of a titling conflict, the game was retitled in this region as Dragon Warrior. In Japan, this game was a big deal when it was released. Like, a really, really big deal. Seriously, Dragon Quest, as it's known in Japan, was everywhere. They made animes, mangas, soundtracks, figurines, dozens of spin-offs, and it's even been dubbed Japan's national game. They even considered adding a slime in place of the rising sun on their nation's flag. However, in America, where players were more used to action games and gunfire, Dragon Warrior was a much harder sell. To combat disinterest, the game was actually distributed for free with an edition of Nintendo Power. And here I had to pay $10 for the copy I have. The plot of Dragon Warrior is almost comically basic. It plays more like a blank RPG template than a game that was given any thought. It's just about as unpolished as it gets. And this is found in every single element of the game, from the plot to the setting to the spells to the options. Anywhere you look in this game, you will not find a shred of creativity. I probably don't even have to mention that the plot is to save a princess. In my opinion, nothing quite displays the simplicity and basicness of the game more than the spells you learn. Heal, that's fine by me. Hurt, it's acceptable, but you lost me at heal more and hurt more. Come on, guys. I will, however, give Dragon Warrior a point or two in creativity for the entirety of the game's text being written in an Elizabethan dialect. It's like an NES Renaissance fair. None of these little guys break character even once. I know I'm not the only one who enjoys this aspect of the game, because when the game was ported to the Game Boy, this was removed, and fans were pissed. I've heard this game's graphics get knocked many times, but I actually think it's pretty good for the NES, although admittedly basic. I only have 2 real complaints with the graphics. The first is that there is only one background animation for the battle sequences, and it gets incredibly redundant. The second is the monsters you fight. They're just goofy and cartoonish. They're hardly fierce or threatening in any way. They're happy little blobs, happy little ghosts. Half of the enemies are smiling, and this just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Maybe this was done for a wider age appeal. I don't really know, I can only speculate. Critics of this game are always saying that it hasn't aged well. What I think we tend to forget decades later is that Dragon Warrior was purposefully made to be simplistic. Dragon Warrior's biggest downfall is its total lack of balance between grinding and advancing the story. I've heard Dragon Warrior described as a very long game before. I disagree. I would describe it as a very short game that takes a staggeringly long time. This has to do with the ridiculous amount of grinding you need to do to get strong enough to finish the game. The aforementioned story makes up maybe 5 minutes of actual gameplay, which is based around dozens of hours of grinding to level up. I'm not even really exaggerating. If I were to guess, I would say 5% of your time spent playing the game will be actually advancing the story, whereas easily 95% of your time will be spent aimlessly walking around forests and mountains, picking mind-numbing, unfulfilling fights with little creatures that frankly just look happy to see you. Now it's that time of the show where I decide where I'm going to rank Dragon Warrior between number 1 and 715. I have to admit, I came into this review with a bias. While reading other reviews of Dragon Warrior online, a sentiment that I seem to run across frequently is the opinion that Dragon Warrior has aged poorly. I tend to disagree. It's a great game that's still fun to play today. Dragon Warrior overall is of a much higher caliber than the 2 games I reviewed previously, and for that reason will take its place as number 1 on my list of greatest games. For now. Dragon Warrior was another game that just came out a little too late in this market. Even by 1989 standards, it was considered a little dated. Although Dragon Quest didn't invent RPGs, it did create a new template for RPGs that's been emulated over and over again and continues to be emulated to this day. And for this, we owe it thanks. Thank you for indulging my haphazard NES side project. Click here to watch the newest episode of my main show, Two Guys Decide, or click here to just watch a whole season of it. Or click here to subscribe.